All right, so we've hit 4:30 on the clock. So hello, everyone. And for all those tuned into this live session across our platforms, a very, very warm welcome. I'm Aparna Gajanan, Senior Director, Brand and Communications at SISA. And I'm really excited to be hosting today's discussion on quantum security readiness. Again, hosted by SISA, excuse me. Now, this topic is definitely one that's kind of been gathering a lot of attention lately. And while it may seem that we are still a few years away from Q Day, I think our team is here to tell you why it's possibly closer than you might think and why it's important to start preparing now. So over the next 35 minutes, we'll be taking a deep dive into a couple of areas that will help us understand the quantum space better and also what it truly takes to be prepared for what's coming. Now, before we begin, just a quick introduction to SISA, especially to those who may be new to us. SISA is a global leader in cybersecurity solutions, particularly for the digital payment industry. Our unique insights from forensic investigations are effectively what powers up our suite of preventive, detective, and corrective security solutions. We protect more than 1,000 plus organizations across 40 plus countries globally. And of course, we continue to innovate and push boundaries in this field in critical areas like hardware security and quantum preparedness, which is, of course, the topic of discussion today. So before we begin our discussion, just a few housekeeping items. The session is scheduled, as I mentioned, for approximately 35 minutes, followed by a 10-minute dedicated Q&A session. We encourage all the attendees on this webinar today to submit your questions, which I'm sure you're going to have a lot of, at any point during the panel discussion using the Q&A feature. Excuse me. Our speakers will do their best to address as many of your queries as possible during the allocated time. Now, however, we may not be able to answer all of your questions, but please let that not stop you from sharing any queries that you might have. We also have a series of sound bites planned as a follow-on to this discussion, where we hope to answer all of your queries. So more details on the sound bites will follow shortly. Now, to facilitate and understand the nuances of the emerging quantum landscape better, we've broken down today's discussion into 4 segments. Now, the first segment, we look at the global progress in quantum computing, the security risk it introduces, and the emerging policy and regulatory frameworks that are emerging in response to these changes. Next, we'll understand the urgency behind post-quantum preparedness, including the real-world implications of strategies like harvest now, decrypt later, and why immediate action is absolutely essential to stay secure. Segment 3 is where we'll break down the step-by-step journey of how organizations can practically begin and manage their transition to PQC. And finally, the team here will offer you tangible steps, tools, and support systems that organizations can leverage today to proactively prepare for a quantum future. All right, so with that, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speakers for today, 2 of our foremost experts in the field. It's a pleasure to welcome Sachin Sawant, our Vice President of Compliance and Testing Services. Sachin brings extensive experience in the field with a strong focus on helping organizations navigate complex regulatory landscapes and diverse security standards. I also have Avinash Selvamani, who heads up a quantum security practice here at SISA. Now, he's a recognized expert in the field, and he drives our efforts to help organizations understand and mitigate the emerging threats posed by quantum computing. Now, you can also connect with both Sachin and Avinash via LinkedIn, and we'd actually recommend and encourage you to do so if you'd like to continue the conversation around quantum post today. All right, so with that introduction, I'd like to kick things off. And Sachin, I'd like to start with you, with the big picture. Now, quantum computing has been a buzzword for a while now, but it feels like the pace has really picked up lately. So could you walk us through some of the key advancements we've seen in recent times and why, according to you, the industry is paying such close attention right now?
Yeah, absolutely, Aparna. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, wherever you are in the world. Coming back to your question, Aparna, the progress in quantum computing is indeed accelerating. We are seeing tangible breakthroughs from major players like IBM, Google, INQ, and many more. They are consistently pushing the boundaries in scaling the number of qubits and, more importantly, improving their coherence times. That is nothing but how long these qubits can maintain their delicate quantum state. These advancements are moving us closer to the point where quantum computers can tackle problems which are currently intractable for even the most powerful classical supercomputers.
Right. So you've touched upon the tech advancements, Sachin, but there's also a lot happening on the global standards front, right? So could you shed some light on the standardization efforts that are underway, especially what's happening with NIST and some of the other key players?
Sure, Aparna. So the National Institute of Standards and Technology, nothing but NIST, has been proactive in addressing this. In the fourth round of NIST's post-quantum cryptography standardization process, the finalists were BIKE, then Classic McEllis, HQC, and SIKE. These algorithms were evaluated for their potential in key establishment, and NIST has selected HQC as a fifth algorithm, particularly for its diverse mathematical basis and potential as a backup. The first four, which are already selected, are Kyber, Dilithium, Falcon, and Sphinx Plus. The process of selecting the new algorithms continues with public feedback and further analysis of the remaining candidates.
All right. So thanks for that insight, Sachin. Avinash, I'd like to bring you in on this discussion now and building on what Sachin just shared. Now, these advancements are exciting, but I think they also bring new risks, right? So could you help us understand what all of this means from a threat perspective, and how should we be thinking about the risks that are emerging alongside these advancements?
Right. See, Aparna, the advancements Sachin said impact the security of the current classical cryptography directly. All right. For an example, if you take Shor's algorithm, it is capable of breaking the public key encryption algorithms like RSA and ECC. Right. So, though it is debated that a fully fault tolerant quantum computer takes many years to come. All right, with hefty investments by the nation states, boosted R&D by the industries, the day is getting closer. Right. So now the real threat, why we are acting now, why we have to act now, is because of the harvest now, decrypt later threat. Aparna.
Right. So harvest now, decrypt later scenario, I think that really puts things into perspective. And I imagine that many governments around the world may also be taking these risks seriously. So Avinash, continuing with you, could you walk us through some of the major policy or the national level initiatives that we are seeing around the world?
Yeah, certainly. Take the US. NSM 10 CHIPS Act, National Quantum Initiative, is heavily funding the R&D in the development of quantum computer and quantum safe technologies. All right, and EU has its own quantum strategy. India has also allocated a significant budget to boost the R&D and foster a quantum ready ecosystem within India. All right. So what we glean is the national strategies underscore the importance of both the potential and the risks associated with quantum computing. Aparna.
Right. All right. So it's great to see, that sort of momentum that you spoke about just now. So, Sachin, if I were to bring the discussion back to the enterprise level, right? How are organizations reacting to all this? Are you starting to see them take action, or would you say that they are still in a wait and watch mode?
Okay. So we are seeing a growing awareness and proactive stance, particularly within sectors like finance, then healthcare, and critical infrastructure. These organizations, which handle vast amount of sensitive and long-lived data, are already in the process of assessing their current cryptographic inventory. They are beginning to identify systems that rely on vulnerable algorithms and are starting to formulate migration plans towards post-quantum cryptography. This early assessment is crucial for a smooth and timely transition.
Right. So, all right. So thank you so much, Sachin and Avinash. Now with that, I think we come to the conclusion of our first segment. And I think we've clearly heard from both of our speakers that quantum computing is no longer a distant concept, right? It's evolving rapidly and it has some real implications for security. And while we may still be a few years away from large-scale quantum computers, I think the global response, whether it is from bodies like NIST to national level policies from the US, EU, and India, I think all of this is showing that how seriously this is being taken by, organizations globally. And it's encouraging to hear that some forward-looking enterprises are also beginning to assess the risks and prepare for the quantum era. So I think net, I think the message is really clear that the time to act is now. All right. So coming back to you, Avinash, I think you touched upon it earlier, and I'd like to spend a little more time on that. The harvest now, decrypt later concept, right? So could you just walk us through what that really means and why it's driving the kind of urgency that comes with quantum?
Right. So this is arguably most compelling reason for immediate action. All right. So already the malicious actors or the sophisticated nation states have started accumulating encrypted data. All right. Their strategy is to store it till the fully capable quantum computer emerges to break the encryption. All right. So if your data has longer lifespan, then you're on the clock. It could create unrecoverable damage. Right, Aparna?
That definitely sounds like a wake-up call. All right, Sachin, coming back to you. Now, if organizations choose to wait, what do you think are some of the business consequences that they might face?
Yeah, the operational impact of neglecting the quantum threat can be significant, Aparna. Beyond the obvious risk of data breaches and the exposure of sensitive information, organizations could face severe compliance failures if they are not adhering to emerging security standards. This can lead to hefty fines, legal repercussions, and significant reputational damage. Also, it erodes customer trust and impacts business continuity. So, proactive preparation is not just a security measure, it's a crucial aspect of long term business resilience.
Right. And you've spoken about consequences, but I'd also like to understand what do you see are some of the practical challenges that make this transition to PQC so complex?
Yeah. So all of us know that crypto agility is not something that can be implemented overnight, especially within large and complex enterprises. Replacing legacy cryptography involves a significant undertaking. It requires identifying all the systems and applications that use vulnerable algorithms, understanding their dependencies, selecting and testing new PQC algorithms, and then deploying them across the entire infrastructure, including partner ecosystems. This process can easily take several years for large organizations.
Mhm.
Delaying the initial assessment and planning stages means potentially being caught unprepared when quantum decryption capabilities become reality.
Right. So I guess that makes it clear why early planning is essential. So coming back to you, Avinash, are we starting to see any push from the regulatory side to kind of accelerate this transition?
Yes, Aparna. So, as I mentioned earlier, NSM 10, National Security Memorandum 10, President Biden signed the memo when he was in the chair, that urges the federal agencies to identify and prioritize systems that are vulnerable to quantum threats. Right? Though this is mandated only for the government agencies, we can expect to see many regulatory bodies mandating it to the private sector as well. Aparna.
Right. So all of this sounds fairly daunting from what I'm listening to, into. So, but what about organizations that have, planned for it or kind of are tuned in today to this discussion? Do you think they need to invest in quantum computers to be quantum safe?
That's a nice question. So, implementing PQC means adopting new and mathematically complex cryptographic algorithms that are believed to be quantum safe. right? These algorithms are designed and developed to run on classical computers, all right? So it is just their complex nature challenges the threat um, due to the quantum computers. All right. So organizations need not essentially invest on quantum infrastructure. The focus should be on upgrading the cryptographic software and protocols that they currently use. Aparna.
Right. All right. Okay, great. So thank you so much again. I think if I were to just summarize the last set of questions that we just debated on, I think what really stands out, and this is something that's been the consistent theme, right? That this isn't a technical issue, it's a strategic business priority. And things like the harvest now, decrypt later threat is very real. And when you sort of add the time it takes to become crypto agile and the early signs of regulatory pressure that Avinash spoke about, I think the message is clear. Proactive quantum readiness, sorry, isn't really optional, but it's something it's very urgent, and it's something that we all need to do, so to speak, right? All right, with that, I'll move on to segment 3. And this is where I'd like to shift gears a little bit and talk about the practical roadmap. So Sachin, if an organization is just getting started, let's say, on its quantum safe journey, what would you say is the very first step they need to take?
Okay. So Aparna, the foundational step is achieving comprehensive visibility into their current cryptographic landscape. Most organizations have a complex web of systems, applications, and services, often with a mix of encryption algorithms, certificates, and keys. Many of these might be outdated or weakly configured or even undocumented. Crypto discovery and inventory services are designed to address this challenge. It is better to employ a combination of automated tools and manual techniques to thoroughly uncover where cryptography is being used across the entire enterprise. This visibility is crucial for understanding the scope of the challenge.
Right. So almost like once the lights are on and you have the inventory, Avinash, what do you think comes next?
Yep. So with the clear understanding of their cryptographic footprint, all right, after they make the inventory, the next step is to analyze the associated risks. So this involves quantum risk assessment. So we do help organizations map their systems and data assets, identify those are vulnerable, and prioritize them based on their business impact. We have also integrated the MITRE quantum framework to our risk assessment methodology to keep it aligned to the international standards. So the end result is we have a list of actionable risks, Aparna.
Understood. I think that sounds like a solid foundation that organizations can build on. All right, coming back to you, Sachin, would you just throw some light on how SISA supports organizations in taking that assessment and kind of turning it into a real actionable plan?
Sure, Aparna. So the planning phase involves developing a strategic roadmap for transitioning to post-quantum cryptography. This is where alignment with emerging standards from NIST and ETSI is paramount. Our roadmaps are tailored to each organization's specific needs and risk profile, ensuring that the chosen PQC algorithms and implementation strategies are not only effective against quantum threats, but also compliant with future regulatory requirements. It is not just about swapping algorithms, it is about architecting a future-proof cryptographic infrastructure.
Right. And if we move from planning to execution, what's CISA's approach to reducing risk during the actual migration?
Okay, so we at CISA strongly advocate for a phased approach, starting with proof of concepts using hybrid cryptography models. This allows organizations to test the performance and integration of PQC algorithms in real-world scenarios without a full-scale deployment. Hybrid models, which combine classical and post-quantum cryptography, provide a transitional security posture and reduce the risk of disruption during the migration.
All right. Okay. Makes sense. And Avinash, if I were to add another layer of assessment on top of that, right? How do you make sure all of these changes stay aligned with broader governance and compliance goals?
Simply, I mean, we have to concentrate on the change management process. Firstly, the crypto transition must be part of the organization's overall governance framework, all right? And it's just not an IT activity, all right? So we work closely with our clients to ensure that the planned changes are well documented, tested, auditable, and support long-term assurance objectives. This includes mapping of PQC implementations to relevant compliance standards and helping them to achieve future audits successfully. All right, Aparna.
Understood. Okay. So finally, before we wrap up this session, this is something that we constantly hear in cybersecurity, right? But I want to understand from a quantum perspective, Avinash, what role does education and training play, and how does that fit into the equation here?
Yeah, that's a great question, Aparna. So building capability within the organization is vital. All right. In a way, quantum threats related awareness is lacking in the industry. Our CQSP program, Certified Quantum Security Professional program, is specifically designed to equip CISOs, security architects, and auditors with the necessary knowledge about quantum threats and post-quantum cryptography. So this training program empowers the organizations to make informed decisions, Aparna.
All right. Okay. So I think with that, we kind of wrap up the third segment of our discussion. And I think, again, what's becoming clear during the course of the discussion is that being quantum safe rather, isn't a one-step action, right? It's a journey. It starts with visibility. It moves through risk understanding, planning, governance alignment as well. And crucially, I think the last bit that Avinash touched upon, which is training people to carry the torch. So, and at SISA, of course, we seem to have built a well-rounded approach that supports organizations every step of this transition. All right, so we'd like to wrap things up with our last section, and I'd like to start by looking at what practical support is available. So, Avinash, coming to you, what are some of the concrete steps that organizations can actually take to embark on their quantum security journey?
All right. So I urge organizations to start with capability building. All right. Quantum security trainings, most notably CISA's CQSP program. At the same time, organizations should also opt to test their status quo through quantum risk assessments, QRA. So one should have a clear roadmap for improvement post a thorough analysis, leveraging international frameworks like the MITRE quantum framework, right? So once the QRA report with risks in it is in hand, then the next step is to plan the migration to quantum safe algorithms. So organizations must plan for hybrid solutions, phase rollout of PQC algorithms, aligning with NIST and ETSI. So that will be the next step. Furthermore, organizations must also plan to implement a crypto discovery tool. All right. This gives the power of automation and manual expertise in analysis. All right. In analysis of the quantum readiness. All right. So these tools can identify all cryptographic artifacts in the entire estate, including legacy, shadow IT kind of systems, and gives you a complete picture of the current state. Aparna.
Understood. I think I was going to ask you about what it takes to operationalize quantum readiness, but I think you've already discussed that with, migration services and crypto discovery and inventory. So,
Right.
Sachin, I'd like to bring you in on the next thing. What does this mean, especially from a governance and leadership perspective?
Sure, Aparna. So am I Yeah. So just checking, Aparna, am I audible? Because I
Yes.
lost you in between.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
there was a couple of minutes, seconds of drop, but yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So first of all, thank you, Avinash, for the detailed answer. Now, to address the governance aspect, one could opt for compliance and audit advisory services. It helps organizations integrate PQC considerations into their existing risk and control frameworks. Then organizations can map PQC requirements to relevant compliance standards, ensuring they're prepared for future audits and can demonstrate due diligence in addressing quantum risk. Organizations should then test and validate PQC algorithm in their specific environment as a part of POCs. These demonstrations showcase the practical application of PQC in real world scenarios, such as securing PKI, then TLS connections, and probably email communications, helping to build confidence and mitigate risk before full scale deployment. To make things easy, innovative tools like our key discovery agent, which is a lightweight solution that helps organization uncover hard-coded and distributed cryptographic keys that might be embedded across various systems. It is a critical aspect of a comprehensive crypto inventory. Having said that, nothing will move without the leadership being involved. It is important for leadership to attend executive awareness and briefing sessions from their trusted cybersecurity partners. These can be curated sessions. Many organizations, including SISA, have been designed to educate organizational leaders on the urgency of the quantum threat, then realistic timelines, and the strategic importance of developing a proactive quantum readiness strategy.
Yeah, I think that's an important point you just made, Sachin, around executive awareness and briefing sessions. All right. So coming back to you, Avinash, anything you'd like to add before we sort of close this segment?
Yeah, to add more, there is a new pace of idea emerging, the quantum hardware attestation frameworks. Organizations must adhere to that. Many organizations, including CISA, are researching models to assess and validate the to validate, to ensure the integrity of these quantum components to be of these components to be quantum prepared, Aparna.
All right, understood. Okay, so with that, I think we've come to a close of the segment 4. Again, thank you so much, Avinash and Sachin, for sharing your thoughts. I think in summary, what really stands out is that becoming quantum ready isn't just a tech decision. It's a strategic imperative, right? From whether it's training to discovery to migration, governance, and the leadership alignment that Sachin you spoke about. I think every layer needs attention when this transition to PQC happens. And a lot of innovations, including CISA's key discovery agent, is happening. And it's very nice sort of to see the ecosystem evolving to support organizations along the way. All right, so with that, we come to a close of our discussion. With that, maybe we'll just open up for Q&A. I do see that there are a couple of questions that we might have to answer. All right, so coming to the first, it says, with the rise of AI, are there any intersections or conflicts that you see between, let's say, AI security and quantum security that organizations should be aware of? I think that's an interesting question. Avinash, you want to pick that up?
Yeah, why not, Aparna? So think of two scenarios, all right? Well, the first one is AI is used to ease the cryptanalysis efforts of even PQC algorithms. All right. The second scenario is quantum is used to break the security controls of AI systems. All right. See, both fields require significant computational resources and specialized expertise. What I would urge is the organizations need to consider their talent and technology holistically. Aparna.
Okay, great. All right, so let's move on to the next question. It says, how do you see the timeline for practical quantum attacks evolving? And what are some of the key indicators that organizations should monitor? I think Sachin, probably you'd be the best to answer this one.
Sure, Aparna. First of all, predicting the exact timeline is very challenging. But the consensus is that the threat window is within the next 8 to 10 years, potentially earlier for specific high value targets. Now, key indicators to watch include significant advancement in qubit stability and error correction, then breakthroughs in quantum algorithm efficiency, and public statements from major quantum hardware vendors about achieving fault-tolerant quantum computing. Also, any reported instances of successful decryption of currently strong encryption using quantum computers would be a critical red flag.
Okay, well, I hope that answered the question. I see we have a couple of more minutes maybe. So we'll take another question that seems to have come up, which says, what advancements in technology will take us closer to Q-Day, if that's possible at all? Sachin, I think back to you on this one.
Yeah, thanks, Aparna. It is a very good question. So first of all, we have to understand what is Q-Day. So Q-Day is nothing but the day when quantum computers can break modern encryption. So Q-Day will get closer and closer when hardware is evolving with better qubit stability, improved error correction, and scalable architectures. Also, topological qubits being pursued by Microsoft promise long coherence and high fault tolerance. It will enable practical large-scale quantum computing. Also, quantum algorithms like Shor's are being optimized to require fewer resources. Then enhanced compilers and hybrid quantum classical approaches are improving efficiency. Then things like cloud-based quantum as a service platforms from IBM, Amazon are speeding up experimentation. Growing government and private funding along with quantum networking research is building the ecosystem. So I think these factors could move Q-Day closer than the predicted 10 to 15 years.
Great. All right. So as I see, I think we probably have only time to answer these many questions. But like I said, we do have planned session bites following the webinar. The details will follow soon. And I think we do hope to answer all of your questions during those bites. All right. So once again, thank you so much, Sachin and Avinash, for sharing your insights today. I think really valuable takeaways for anyone looking to understand and prepare for the quantum future. And in conclusion, I think, as I mentioned at the start, preparing early is absolutely key. The quantum era is approaching, and it's approaching faster than we think. And for those who start now, I believe, we believe rather, we'll be far better positioned to protect their data, their customers, the businesses, and so on and so forth. So thank you all for joining us today. I hope this session has given you some food for thought and a few next steps to consider. Once again, if you'd like to dive deeper or chat with us about your organization's quantum security plans, please do feel free to reach out to Sachin and Avinash via their LinkedIn handles. You could also reach out to us via our own LinkedIn handle. All right, with that, thank you once again. Thanks for tuning in. Until our next meeting, stay secure. Bye-bye.